Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market right now? Whether you are looking to buy your next house or sell the one you already have, knowing whether the real estate market is experiencing a buyer's market or a seller's market is important information that will impact your transaction. By understanding whether the current market is a buyer's market or a seller's market right now, you will be able to make smart, strategic decisions that will allow you to come out ahead. So stick around and I'll let you in on the secret. If this is your first time visiting the channel, and if you want to know everything there is about the Houston market and Houston's best real estate, then subscribe below and tap the bell. That way you'll be among the first to know about the Houston market and Houston's best real estate. And by the way, my name's Michael Hughes. I'm a Texas real estate broker and a Texas real estate attorney of more than 20 years. And along with my wife and business partner, Carol Hughes, we help folks just like you buy and sell Houston's best real estate. Okay, well, let's start with the basics. What do these two terms actually mean? Buyer's market, seller's market. What are we talking about? Well, in either case, what we're getting at is the proportion or the ratio between the number of homes that are available on the market and the number of buyers that are actively looking right now. If one of these things is greater than the other thing, then the market is going to tip in the favor of one or the other of the parties, the buyer or the seller. And that's where we get the names. In a seller's market, there are more buyers actively looking to purchase a home than there are homes available to sell. This greater number of buyers competing for a smaller number of homes puts greater demand on the homes. Typically, in this kind of a situation, we're going to see home prices going up and offers coming really fast to the sellers. The sellers are really in the driver's seat when it comes to a seller's market. Now, in a buyer's market, exactly the opposite situation is true. There are more homes out there on the market than there are buyers who are looking to purchase them. And with that excess supply of homes, the demand for any one particular house is going to fall. This will often manifest itself as falling prices and longer days on market for those homes that are listed for sale. In a buyer's market, the buyers are more in control of the transaction because, after all, if the seller doesn't want to play ball, well, there's several other homes on the market. The buyers can just move on. Now, in addition to these two, there's a third possibility, and that one is right in the middle. We call it a balanced market, where the number of buyers and the available homes are, kind of evenly matched. One is not really greater than the other. And so that results in what we call a balanced market, where the overall real estate market really isn't favoring one side over another. Okay, got it. We know the difference between a buyer's market, a seller's market, and a balanced market. But how can you tell the difference? How do you know if you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now? And in order to make that determination, there's a few things that we look at. The first thing we look at is this thing called months of inventory. You've probably heard real estate folks talking about this before. Months of inventory. What's our inventory level? And what we're talking about when we say months of inventory is this. Imagine that if right now all home construction in your local market just stopped. Everyone just dropped what they're doing and walked off the job. No more homes being built. At the same time, there is no more real estate homes being put on the market. So no more real estate homes, no more new construction. The homes that we have right now on the market are the only homes that there will ever be. Now, how long in the current market would it take to sell all of that available inventory? That number is measured in months, and that's what we call the months of inventory number. Now, the months of inventory number runs from 0 to 12 months. In a perfectly balanced market, the months of inventory number would be 6. It would take 6 months to sell all of the inventory that is on the market if nothing else ever entered the market. The closer that you get to 0, the more of a seller's market it is. The closer you get to 12, the more of a buyer's market that it is. The closer you get to the extremes, either to 0 or to 12, the more extreme of a market that you'll find. So, for example, during the pandemic, when we saw inventory numbers of less than 2 months of available inventory, we were in an extreme seller's market. And if we ever encountered an inventory situation of 10 months, 11 months, things like that, we would be in an extreme buyer's market. Now, months of inventory is one of the things that real estate professionals look at to guide us as to whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now. And I kind of feel like it's the most important thing that we look at, but there are other metrics and statistics and things that we look at to help us decide whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now. So one of those additional things is the average days on market. If homes are sitting on the market for a long, long time, on average, then we can say, okay, there's not a lot of demand, because if there were, these homes would be moving faster. So on average, if days on market starts trending upwards, then we kind of get the impression, okay, maybe demand is softening a little bit. On the other hand, if days on market trends down and we start getting to the really, really quick sale type thing on average, then we can say, ooh, there's a lot of demand out there. We must be trending towards a seller's market. Another statistic that's very handy in trying to get a grip on whether we are in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now is the list price to sale price ratio. So what this does is it takes a look at the listing price of the house on average, so the average listing price, and then it compares that to the average closing price of those same houses. And if we start to see a big split between what the homes were listed at on average and what they're closing at on average, when that gap starts opening up, we can conclude, okay, there's a lot of negotiation going on and sellers are willing to accept a discount from their average listing price. Okay, so maybe we're trending towards a buyer's market, because the buyers seem to be more in control of this discussion when we start to see the big gaps opening up between the average listing price and the average sale price. On the other hand, just the opposite can be true. If we start seeing that ratio narrowing and homes are selling at their listing price and sometimes even above their listing price, then we can say, okay, there must be a strong demand, because sellers are not willing to accept discounts from their listing price. And in those cases where the average closing price is actually higher than the average listing price, then that says we're getting into a lot of bidding wars, and that's driving up the average closing price. That would indicate that the homes are more in demand, and that tells us, okay, maybe we're in a seller's market now. Another thing that we'll look at is the average number of offers that are received on listings. In a seller's market, the homes are in demand, and many times sellers will see multiple offers come in on their home, and they'll usually see them happen pretty quickly. On the other hand, at a buyer's market, the homes are not really in such demand. On average, you might not see as many offers come in. You might see one offer come in, and the seller's going to grab it up as quick as they can because they don't want to risk losing that buyer when the demand is really soft. Okay, great. But what's the big deal? Why is this important? Why are you listening to me talk about whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now? Well, because that characterization is going to impact how you go about your real estate transaction, whether you are buying or selling. It doesn't matter. Whether you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market is going to impact how you go about either buying the home, making offers, or it's going to impact how you present the home and how you respond to the offers that come in. So let's take a look at it from the buyer's perspective first. So if you're a home buyer and it's a buyer's market, well, it's a good time to be a home buyer if you are trying to purchase a home in a buyer's market. In a buyer's market, buyers are typically going to have more choices of available homes. You're going to have more time to make a decision, and you're going to have more negotiating leverage. Because there's less overall demand for homes on the market, that tends to put the buyers in the driver's seat, because all of these sellers are doing whatever they can to make their home stand out for the smaller number of buyers who are actually looking to purchase. On the other hand, if you are a buyer and it is a seller's market, you're going to have to be prepared to move fast, make offers quickly, make higher offers than you might if it were a buyer's market, because you are going to be competing against more buyers for the same homes on the market. So if you're a buyer in a seller's market, the pressure is on a little bit more. You've got to move more quickly. You've got to be more decisive. You've got to have your ducks in a row ahead of time so that when you find the home you want to put the offer in on, you can move quickly and get in before the competition. Okay, now let's look at it from the seller's perspective. Pretty much the exact opposite of what we just said, but from the different perspective. So if you are a seller and you're in a buyer's market, well, it's not a great time to be a seller if we're in a very strong buyer's market. Why? Because there are a lot of homes on the market and not so many buyers compared to the number of homes that are out there to be had. That means that buyers have more choice. There's less demand for each individual home, and buyers can make offers that have more favorable terms for them. So lower prices, concessions, higher concessions, incentives, better incentives, all these things that are going to favor the buyer. As a seller, you're going to find in a buyer's market that your home is going to sit on the market for a longer period of time while you're waiting for that one buyer that wants to come and purchase it. And so when you get that one offer, it's going to be much more important to you than if we're in a seller's market where you might be getting multiple offers. So that leads us to the next one. If you're a seller in a seller's market, hey, it's a great day to be a seller in a seller's market. Why? Because there are a lot of buyers out there looking for a small number of homes, and yours is one of them. That puts your home in high demand, and that puts you as the seller in the driver's seat, because these buyers are now competing with each other for your home. You can see multiple offer situations. You can see very, very fast offers coming in. You can see full price offers. You can see greater than full price offers. All kinds of great things if you're a seller in a seller's market. Now, as a veteran real estate broker and a Texas real estate attorney, I can tell you firsthand that understanding the characterization or the current condition of the market is only half the battle. The second half, and the most important half, is knowing how to respond once you have that knowledge. And here is where having a full-time professional real estate agent at your side makes all the difference. Your agent can help you by doing things like helping you understand the nature of the market so that you can be strategic in crafting offers, or as a seller, responding to offers. Your agent can analyze the local market trends to advise you, not just the big, flashy, nationwide headlines. I mean, real estate in California doesn't really impact real estate in Texas. So you got to understand what's going on locally. Your agent can help negotiate terms in your real estate deal that work for you and your real estate goals. And finally, your agent is there to protect your interests throughout every step of the process. Doesn't matter whether you're buying or selling real estate, having the right advice at the right time makes all the difference. So, are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market right now? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of different factors, but mainly what is going on in your local market area. And that's why it is so important that you speak with a local, professional, knowledgeable real estate agent who can understand not only the local market conditions, but your specific goals as well. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Texas, or if you just have questions about the market, shoot me a message. I would love to help. Now, whether you're planning to make your next move next week, next month, even next year, Carol and I would love to help make your next home purchase or sale smooth and worry-free. So click on the link below to set up a free one-on-one Zoom meeting. Or, of course, you can always give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. We would love to hear from you, and we're looking forward to helping you buy or sell Houston's best real estate.